Hi, we're in the town of Barnstable on Cape Cod, and this is the West Barnstable Church. This building was actually built in 1717, and it was built with the materials from the original church that was built in 1639. This is the oldest congregation in America, and actually started in England. And during the early 1600s, this congregation was, they were Protestants, and they were jailed by the royal authorities. And they had a deal: we'll let you out of jail if you go to America. So 1634, Reverend John Lothrop boarded the ship Griffin with his congregation. And on that ship was a lady named Elizabeth Penn Hammond. Elizabeth Penn Hammond is our 11 times great-grandmother. And Elizabeth Penn, if you know the name Penn, she was the sister of, Sir Admiral William Penn, and the aunt of William Penn, who's the founder of Pennsylvania, Quaker. So they found their way up to Boston in 1634. In 1638, they traveled down to a town called Scituate to establish our church. Unfortunately, that fell through after about a year. And Elizabeth went back to Boston, took her daughters with her. Her son Benjamin stayed and traveled down to Plymouth, and John Lothrop established this church in 1639. So a little later, Benjamin Hammond moved back from Plymouth up to Yarmouth, where he married Mary Vincent, who we met earlier, who is the daughter of John Vincent Jr. and Hannah Allerton. But the story doesn't stop there. There's a fellow we know by the name of John Chipman. And John Chipman was born in a place called Barnstable, England. And when he was 14 years old, in 1635, he signed as an indentured servant to his cousin. And they came over to America aboard the ship, the Increase. And right away, they headed right up to Yarmouth, right up in this area, and he became a carpenter, where he worked for 4 years. And during that time, he also worked on the property of John Howland, who is our 10 times great-grandfather up in Rocky Point, where he kind of wooed and won the hand of John's daughter, Hope Howland. Well, they moved back down here to Yarmouth, and John and Hope were members of this church, and John became an elder of the church in the year 1670. So he was an elder, and one of his jobs was to work or participate with the Quakers and try to dissuade the Quakers from their evil ways. But he didn't think that was very fair, and he seemed to like the Quakers. So in 1680, he left the congregation, and him and Hope moved up to Sandwich. And that was the history of this church and our ancestors' involvement in the church.
Oh, wow. You're amazing. Just